Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania trailer, the Santa Claus trailer. We're going to be talking about Doctor Who, which wasn't something I'd ever thought we'd have to be able to talk about, which is good. Plus, we'll be talking about this week's new releases, including Andor and Tales of the Jedi, and much more. So, before we do any of that, quick bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube or on the audio platforms as well, where you can find this podcast. You can also go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, etc. And on that note, let's jump into the news. So, there's been a lot more trailers this week. So let's start off with a Disney Plus one first off. So let's start off with Marvel Studios, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which is a Marvel Studios feature presentations or special presentations. So this is their new line of single stuff. And what did you think of the trailer?
It looked entertaining. Kind of low stakes, just kind of fun little holiday Christmas romp. It'll be fun to see them on Earth, interacting with Earth people and Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, I mean, again, no stakes other than for Kevin Bacon. He's running for his life.
Yes.
But, the trailer. It's kind of funny, really, because this one is like one that's been kind of floating under the radar for a long time. It's just been, we hadn't this. Obviously, we first saw the first trailer, but we hadn't really seen anything about this other than maybe a few images of them like walking along Hollywood Boulevard. Coming out on 25th of November, so just after Thanksgiving, so it's a good time. Moving away a little bit from Disenchanted, which has moved to a week earlier, which I don't think is a bad idea. It looks fun. It just looks fun and stupid. And I know that, if you're after a serious one, the Guardians of the Galaxy A ain't serious, and B, this is even the whole sort of tone of this. It's Christmas fun. It's a holiday special. They're having fun with it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it'll be just kind of harmless and a little bridge until Guardians 3, and of course maybe it'll maybe make people feel a little bit better about the fact that James Gunn is moving over to DC after this one. Actually, that's a great move for DC, so I can't fault them for grabbing that.
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny because obviously he's got this one, and then he's got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 out next May. So it's a little bit weird of him now going to have to be on the press tour for two things. I don't know if they're going to do much for the holiday special. But yeah, so now it's like, it's kind of weird, isn't it? It's like suddenly, I mean, I wouldn't be inviting him over to Marvel HQ anytime soon now. I'd be like, we'll do it at your house.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't either, but it does sound like Kevin Feige was, happy for it. But yes, at the same time, you don't get to see the plans anymore.
So. Yeah. I'd be there, yes, because you're going to tell me all your secrets.
Also possibly true.
I mean, it's funny because the whole thing with Kevin Gunn, being one of the co-leads now over at DC Studios. I mean, I enjoyed the Suicide Squad. I really enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't finish off Peacemaker, but what I saw of it, it was fun. But yeah, it kind of feels like that kind of weird thing now of in some way, he's now going to be out the picture for a few years. There's been all this talk this week of they can finally get Marvel and DC to kind of do a team up movie, and they're friends. I'm like, no. What's Marvel got to gain by that? They've got nothing to gain and everything to lose, and it's just like, no. It's like just because they've worked together doesn't mean that they can then bring together. And apparently, Kevin Feige was offered the job but turned it down, and other people go, well, in a few years' time when his contract, he'll take over from Gunn. I'm like, this is so reaching.
Yeah,
just because he's worked on a Marvel movie suddenly, yeah. But no, it's good for James Gunn in some ways, because I don't think anyone's going to take that job at Marvel for a while.
No, Kevin's going to be staying in it for a long time, and James really does have a chance to kind of maybe get DC on track and away from the dark and gritty, and which isn't bad. It's just the execution was really bad, and get it interesting again. And
yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to DC being dark and gritty. I mean, no. I don't think it's actually a bad thing for them to be a little bit different from Marvel. Because it's like watching the Batman really lately, because I just watched that on the flight out to Las Vegas, and it was dark. I mean, to be honest, it was probably not the best thing. I'm going to watch it again when it goes on to Sky Cinema, just so I can probably see some of it, because it's so dark. but yeah, it wasn't a fun movie to watch. You know, you weren't, you know, it wasn't like fun. I did watch Wonder Woman 1984 this week because it's someone it's been sat on my like recording box for like since Christmas. That's only a while it's been sat there, and I thought, you know what, I put it on. I'm like, I think last Sunday, I'm like, actually, it's not that bad. I mean, if you could took out Cheetah, it was like it wasn't that bad movie. But I don't mind watching the DC ones. But
it was mostly the that weird chase sequence in the beginning in the mall where I was just kind of like cringing my way through. But it's not nearly as bad as people made it out to be. No. And then, of course, I haven't seen it yet, but Black Adam, the word of mouth on that is significantly better than reviewer scores are for it. And at least anecdotally, all of the theaters near me are doing pretty good business with it. So it sounds like DC at least is doing decently well right now.
I mean, to be honest, it's like Black Adam. It's like I do want to watch it. I enjoy the Rock and everything. It looks like it's a lot of fun. So I think, and there's this kind of feeling I think with DC where I just don't have that urge the same way that I do. But like I've got my Black Panther Wakanda Forever for the 9 o'clock showing on the Thursday morning because I want to see it, and I'm avoiding trailers and I'm trying my best to avoid any. I'm not reading any reviews, and yeah, I want to kind of go in blind on that on there. So I'm looking forward to that one in a couple of weeks. I will watch Black Adam, but I'll probably wait till it's on rental, I expect.
I'm going to see it probably in theaters, but I'm doing it on like the Discount Tuesday. Maybe this week, maybe a couple of weeks from now, depends on how packed the theaters are.
So I'm looking forward to that. And I mean, we got Strange World as well this month, so next month. So there's a couple of good ones coming out. All right, so that's Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's another big release for November. November's a pretty stacked month. Speaking of things coming out in November, we've also got the first trailer, or I say the first full trailer for the Santa Clauses, which is coming with a double episode on the 16th of November, with new episodes dropping weekly. The new trailer dropped a little bit more detailed than the D23 one. But what did you think of the trailer?
I was a bit more neutral on this one. Nothing really stands out about it. It's not a bad trailer. There's nothing going like, oh man, what is Tim Allen doing, or what are some of the other characters doing? It's not like that. It's just there's also nothing going, oh yeah, I'm super excited because the plot line they picked is really, and it's like, it's okay. I suspect that the show is significantly better than the trailer makes it look, but that's
it's because obviously we saw the teaser at D23, and they all came out on the stage, and I'm looking forward to this one because I enjoyed the first two movies. I don't count the third one, with Jack Frost, and also like it was a little bit like when the trailer flipped into, oh no, the new Santa's trying to ruin Christmas and he has to return. Like, did we have to do that? It was a little bit like, oh, we've kind of done that to death. It's like the idea of them going back home and trying to read and maybe have the new Santa trying to get to grips of it would have been much more interesting, and Santa's family trying to adapt. And it seems instantly like they're going to be like back on in like our area of Earth very, very quickly, and then backing up to the North Pole kind of thing. And a bit of an odd one.
Yeah, and then they were going, of course, for the kind of situational comedy that we've seen in movies like Elf and stuff, where they're so used to the North Pole that when they interact at Starbucks or something like that, it's like, yes, we'll do it this highly specialized way, and it's weird that you don't know this highly specialized way that we like our coffee. It was like, I
must admit, I know when I was out at Starbucks in America, like some people ordering, and you're like going, I have no idea what you just ordered. And then the next thing, can I just have a cup of tea, please?
Yeah. I'm not really a coffee drinker myself, but I have a lot of respect for the baristas at Starbucks for the nonsense they have to put up with. But Santa Claus, obviously, I have more high hopes for it than this trailer reveals. But if this is the first experience that people are having with the Santa Clauses, I could see why hype wouldn't really be getting all that.
And it's tricky as well with this kind of thing, because I mean, a lot of people are like, well, why are they releasing the trailer now? Like, and it's kind of like they should have really waited till next week. I feel like they could have done this one on like Tuesday next week, the 1st of November. Bang up. Halloween's over and we're bringing in the Christmas. It's like bringing it in like before Halloween's like, yeah, people aren't, you're not really in the Christmas spirit yet. I mean, I'm still walking around. It's a bit tricky.
There's definitely that. And for Americans, even more so, even though the Walmart and Target, they're starting to put up the Christmas decorations already. already bombarded by all that. But it really doesn't feel like Christmas until after Thanksgiving. At least that's how I felt. And obviously that's distinctly American in the UK and such. It's after Halloween or whatever breaking point you use. We're not even at Halloween yet. It does not feel like Christmas yet.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I always tend to I like it to get into December. That's kind of my kind of thing. But yeah, so I always have that kind of thing. And like, yeah, wait until we get December. But I don't know. It's almost that kind of weird thing because this is a 6-part series dropping like middle of November. It'll be done for Christmas. It's like, I mean, will it get me in the Christmas spirits? It's very tricky. I'm gonna have to wait and see on that one. But it looks fun. I'm going in. I'm hoping that this is. It almost feels like one of the first big like Disney branded shows that's dropped. I know we've had the Mysterious Benedict Society and we've had Mighty Ducks and Big Shot, but this kind of feels like the next level up.
I'm hoping so, at the very least. Like, I'm not expecting a jump between like Bad Batch and Andor or something like that in terms of quality, but it does feel like something that Disney has put a significant amount of weight behind, and given them a decent budget for it as well. Plus, Tim Allen is, of course, very good at what he does with his comedy, and he's been doing it for a very long time. So that this is one to watch, even if the Santa Claus or one or two wasn't exactly your biggest thing growing up. This should be the good little fun Christmas feeling of the year.
Yeah, so that's good. So we're looking forward to that one. Also, we got the trailer and the first poster for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is coming out on February the 17th. Now, I'm gonna be honest. Back at the Marvel presentation at D23, we did kind of get shown this it was a little bit different. There was a few little things that we didn't get to see MODOK, and there was a bit of an extended scene. So I didn't quite come into this like, oh my god, I was like, well, okay, most of this is seen. But what did you think of it? Because this was your first time seeing it.
Right. I was not at the Marvel panel, so I didn't get to see that. This was very different from the other Ant-Man movies, the first and the second one. It's got almost a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of vibe to it. Kind of waiting to see how the execution is, because Ant-Man doesn't exactly have the same level of our willingness to kind of let it do weird things like that. But that said, I did like both of the Ant-Man movies. I know Ant-Man and the Wasp kind of fell off and is one of the forgotten MCU movies, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's nothing special, but it is entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I think Quantumania just looks so interesting. The whole taking them out of and putting them in the quantum realm and having the whole thing with Kang. We're going to see what's happening with MODOK. Is there going to be a connection with Fantastic Four? There's all kinds of stuff that's going on with this one. Plus, it's got Ant-Man in it, and it's just so cool seeing Paul in this one. I just like him. He brings that fun side to it. And yeah, this was one that's definitely for me. I'm just like, yeah, this is what I like. A bit of some fantasy and moving so far away from the heist element of that first film.
Right, and it was fun having Ant-Man, the original one, be the heist film. It was the MCU trying something different, doing a different type of story, and now they're in their third movie. It's time for a slightly different story, and so we're going with this kind of sci-fi inner universe vibe, and it looks extremely colorful. That's one of the other things that because it's in the quantum realm, there's just color in every single shot. It's very vibrant.
Yeah, and there's kind of like this whole kind of thing of like, are they setting up some connection with rings, like with Miss Marvel and with Shang-Chi with the rings and all kinds of stuff? And was that who got the message at the end of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings when they were talking about, there's all these questions of how, and it's all going to lead up to the Kang Dynasty. So something's obviously going to be interconnected with all of this stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and even if you didn't like the first two Ant-Man movies, they weren't really your jam. Maybe they weren't serious enough or whatever. This one looks like it's off in a different direction, so keep an eye on it just in case.
Yeah, this looks really good. Right, also, now we knew about this one in some way a little bit, but we had a major announcement this week where Disney and BBC have announced that they have joined forces on Doctor Who to turn Disney Plus into the exclusive home of Disney of the new series, except for in the UK and Ireland. It's still going to remain on the BBC over here. It looks like they're putting money into it, a bit more creative aspect, but globally, it's going to be on Disney Plus, starting with the new series that starts next November with David Tennant coming back for, I think it's 3 specials before Ncuti then takes over as the new Doctor. And moving forward, there was no mention of any previous seasons coming to Disney Plus because, like in the US, they're currently locked onto HBO Max for a while. Here in the UK, I believe they're on like BritBox. I kind of have a feeling that when they can become available, they probably will become available on Disney Plus. While I reached out and kind of got told at the minute this is all they've announced, I wouldn't be at all surprised if us here in the UK, we maybe get the new season after it's been on BBC after a little bit. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it goes on there as a shared for after the BBC's had their one go. But yeah, what did you think of this news?
This is pretty big news all around. I mean, Doctor Who has been an insanely popular sci-fi icon for a very long time. So being able to get him on Disney Plus, him or her, sorry, is going to be big news all around. And honestly, I've never seen Doctor Who. I'm obviously aware of it, but I've never seen a single episode of Doctor Who. This isn't the first time we've talked about it. That's shouldn't become too much of a surprise, but maybe now's the chance to do so.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things of it's such a thing here in the UK where it's a bit like you've at some point you're going to have to watch an episode because it's on all the time. I mean, I grew up my dad loves Doctor Who. My dad's a big sci-fi fan, and Doctor Who was always the thing. We used to watch I used to watch it with the old Doctors. I think like I really got into it when Sylvester McCoy was right at the end of the 80s. And then it kind of went away for a bit. It went away. They brought back a movie, which I remember buying the comic and the bits and pieces for, and it completely flopped. And because America, they tried making it too American, and then it didn't work because it wasn't British enough. And obviously, then they rebooted it in 2005 with Christopher Eccleston, and that's when it kind of exploded. And that was such a great series. It really revolutionized him for a brand new generation. Then David Tennant took over, and that was where it just exploded. Seeing him back is fantastic because he is my favorite Doctor. So I'm really excited about that one. Then Matt Smith obviously took over for it for a few years and brought in Karen Gillan. So that was the thing with Guardians of the Galaxy. I was used to seeing her from Doctor Who and like watching Game of Thrones, House of Dragons right now, with Matt Smith and The Crown. I mean, Matt Smith is such an incredible actor. So that's where he started. And it's just been, it's really cool. And then we had Peter Capaldi. I wasn't such a big fan of his. I kind of drifted off on that series. And I'll be honest, I did try watching the one with Jodie Whittaker. Didn't really and one of the major reasons is I didn't actually like all the sidekicks. Because you had like John Bishop. You had also, I forgot his name. He does the Chase and stuff. Bradley Walsh. I wasn't so keen on some of the things, but every time there's a new Doctor, that's when you jump back in and you can kind of get in on it. Because some people said, it's been going since. Some people didn't even realize it was going since the 1960s. Where I think this is like season 35 or something. This is a long-standing. You don't need to go all the way back. I would say if you wanted to go back, maybe go back to 2005. And watch those because those from there on is good. But you can literally just jump in at any of the Doctor Who starting point because what they do very well is every time they restart with a new Doctor, they will have generally they will have a new companion, and you kind of see the world through their eyes. So everything is explained to this companion like this is what this is, or this is what that is. And there's always that kind of, they use the companion as a way of really of kind of restarting and bringing you up to speed. It's like, yes. You do not need to have watched all 700 episodes to get into it. But for me, this is like great. I mean, I remember I went to see a Doctor Who exhibit down in like Land's End, and also when we were in Cardiff, I remember there was a big exhibit. So I took my wife, she hated it, but I went around and you got to see all the costumes and stuff. So I'm in the Doctor Who thing of like, I've even got to exhibits to see all the costumes and stuff. So I'm definitely in the like, this is it's like, oh, Doctor Who's now in my new zone now of like, I've got to start doing some more research, and there's going to be a lot of Doctor Who stuff coming.
If it makes the jump over from HBO Max for the older seasons, like the Matt Smith or David Tennant series, I'll probably give them a shot because most people that I've talked to who know Doctor Who, they rave at least about the David Tennant series. Matt Smith is up there as well. Big fan of Karen Gillan from Guardians of the Galaxy and Jumanji, of all things. Wouldn't have expected to say that.
That's a really good movie, actually. I really enjoyed that.
But yeah, that's why I didn't expect to say that. I actually got a ticket to see the Jumanji, the reboot one, back when it was first coming out with The Rock and Jack Black and stuff. I'm like, whatever, it's free ticket, I'll go see it. And I came out of it as like the funniest movie I'd seen in a very long time. So both of those, both of the Jumanji remakes or reboots, whatever, were really good. Anyway, Doctor Who, I can't speak to it, but I recognize how big of a deal it is for Disney to be getting the new Doctor Who content, starting with the David Tennant specials, I guess they are.
I mean, it is just that little bit of a shame of just like, I mean, I know a lot of British people were like, oh, well, why can't we have it as well? Because it's that kind of thing of like, it's a global release, except for in the UK. And also the fact that they put this one out, and like, I mean, even the UK put out the press release, so that's very much a case of no, it's coming in. But yeah, it is really, really interesting to see how all of this comes together. And for me, I'm just like, this is a big show. This is a big family show,
and the dogs are interested in it too. They're very much looking forward to the arrival of the new Doctor coming November next year. Oh
yeah. Yes, and she's nicked my sock. That's what they're fighting over.
The sock will choose who the next companion is. That's what we're going with here.
But yeah, it is. I think the thing is for me is just like, this is really going to allow the show to kind of get a much bigger audience, especially internationally, being out on Disney Plus. But having that, I mean, they're going to be they're in over 100 countries right now. I think the plan is to like reach 150 by the end of next year. That's a lot. That's a lot of places for this. And in one place, this one is going to be a really, really interesting release. It's probably, and it's going to be great for Disney Plus to get in something that is it's an established franchise that they don't own. You never would have expected. I mean, but in some ways, it's a perfect partnership for the BBC to kind of get this out onto a bigger audience.
Yeah, and it is kind of weird to say that because it has been on HBO Max, but it does feel like getting it on Disney Plus will allow it to become more visible to people. Because I think there's a lot of people like me who are familiar with it. We're aware of it. I can name a couple of doctors like David Tennant and such, but that's where my engagement with Doctor Who ends. But having it there on the banner, next to Star Wars and Marvel content, people go, oh, I should check this out. Especially if it's David Tennant on the banner.
Yeah,
because arguably, he's probably the best well-known Doctor outside of Doctor Who fandom. Like if you pulled someone off the street who had never watched it, someone like me, Tennant's probably the one they're going to mention.
Yeah, it's just I can't. I mean, it's just a big one, and I'm sure that we are going to end up seeing those other seasons dropping on there at some point because it probably. But they're going to have to get rid of the old contract. They're going to have to get those ones out of the way. But yeah, so that is a big one. So that is pretty good. Also, this past week we got confirmation of a new series from FX called Fleishman in Trouble, which is going to be coming to Disney Plus around the world on FX in the middle of November. Unfortunately, us here in the UK, we have to wait till the 22nd of February until the whole season drops at once. So this continued thing of holding stuff back to get a binge drop in the UK, because the same thing's happening with Welcome to Chippendales. We've seen it with The Bear. This constant thing with it is rubbish, and I'm going to continue to say it's rubbish.
I'll continue to say it too. It's the FX series specifically, which I don't. There must be some sort of licensing agreement that requires them a certain amount of time, or if they were to put it up at launch, it would be going to a different. I don't understand it. No. It doesn't make sense, and I hope they fix it.
Because even Welcome to Chippendales isn't one. It's not an FX show. So it's very odd. It is a very odd system. So it's annoying that it's coming a little bit later. But yeah, so I mean that the trailer looks pretty interesting. Kind of again a more serious kind of relationship series and stuff.
I'm still going for the socks here, I guess. But yeah, it is kind of odd how these shows keep just not showing up in England at the same time as everywhere else. And I would love to just for somebody to come out and, even if they can't say why, to just acknowledge it.
Well, I have mentioned it to them, and there's a kind of the thing at the minute seems to be like the binge format seems. I don't know if it's like the binge format seems to be working, or whether or not it is that they all want to get it out in Europe at the same time. But it kind of that weird thing of like going, but I can understand it here. We don't need to. It's just a very odd one.
Also, if you are going for the binge format, then it would still make sense to maybe drop the entire thing at the same time that the final episode airs in the States or wherever it's airing at. Instead, it normally comes several months later when the buzz, if it's a series that has buzz, is completely gone.
Well, it's a bit like, for example, like we've got Reboot coming up in like next week here in the UK, and it's just finished in the US. We got the Patient coming at the end of November here in the UK. And it is like you say that the buzz is gone on this. There's it's like us. We might talk about it a little bit, but we're not going to talk about it the same way as if we all got it on the same time. And unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast. Of by the time these shows come out, they've been out for 4 months, and for half the audience, like the interest is just not there the same. But it is just a real strange one. But it is a pain. Right, let's now talk about a brand new special which is coming to Disney Plus on December the 28th. Which is going to be a brand new Encanto at the Hollywood Bowl, which is going to have a special introduction by Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're also going to have other presentations, and they're going to be filming this in a couple of weeks at the Hollywood Bowl over 2 nights. And for me, I'm just like, this is like, what was the biggest hit from last year for Christmas? Encanto. What do we need this year? More Encanto. Well, it's just do a show at the Hollywood Bowl, sell all the tickets out, get make some money. To me, it's like this is just like win. It's just like perfect system of bringing all this together.
Yeah, and like they did this with Coco back when Disney Plus was first launching. I don't remember exactly how long it took for it to come out.
Yeah,
but we really enjoyed that one. All they did really was have little short anecdotes and then sang some of the songs, and that's all they need to do here as well. I will definitely watch this when this appears on Disney Plus.
Definitely a must one. Actually, kind of interesting. They had a big Disney 100 launch event here in the UK earlier this week, and one of the things that got announced was a new Disney 100 concert, which was announced back at the D23 Expo. So I managed to get tickets for that. So I'm going to go see that next summer. So it's like I kind of hope that they maybe like record something like that for Disney Plus, because that would be good as well.
That does seem like it'd be the ideal kind of thing for them to show, especially if these concerts or musical events are going to become more and more of a thing going forward. And I hope they are. It's a good way of enjoying the music in a kind of a casual environment, putting some talent on the stage, and also just getting recognition out there.
Yeah, it just makes sense to use that content, use it, do something a bit different with it. So that's pretty good. So I think that's all of the news this week. So before we get into reviews, just a quick shout out to our supporters on Patreon and YouTube channel members. So a big hello to Babak. We've got Paul, Daniel, Elliot, Aero, Caleb, Red Marsman, Cody, Jacob, Darren, Lauren. We've also got Sarah and Andrew. While over on YouTube, big hello to Tim, Chuck, David, Mahmoud, Raphael, Adam, Dana, Ricky, Dave, My VCR Still Works, Bina, Joshua, Dawn, Martin, and Sarah. Thank you for your continued support. Quick note, we'll be doing a live Q&A on Sunday. Now, I've moved them a little bit. I've moved it a little bit earlier each week now to an hour earlier, just because it just means I can extend it a little bit if I need to. But also the clocks change here in the UK this week. So we've got about a 2-week period where it might be an hour. I don't even know if it's an hour earlier or an hour later in the US because
I don't know anymore.
How it works. But it's the same time for me, so I'm on time. It's just America's late. That's the way I go.
That is very American of us. So
yeah. So that's so there will be one, but also because it's going to be the Halloween one, I'm going to be opening up to all YouTube subscribers. So yeah, everyone. But if you are a member, make sure you put in your question in advance, so yours will get priority. All right, let's talk about some new content. So we got Star Wars Tales of the Jedi this week. What did you think of that one?
Enjoyed most of them. There were a couple that were maybe not as good, but overall filled in some gaps. Had some very good stories in there. Animation was very good. I like the format. I hope they do more of these. There's not too much else to tell without going into spoiler territory.
Yeah, well, it's kind of one of those things in the fact because I really struggled with the idea of like, well, what was bad about this? I was like, I couldn't think of anything. It was like
No.
the animation looks great. I personally preferred the Count Dooku episodes because I felt like I got something a little bit new out of that. The Ahsoka stuff was a bit like the one with them, her fighting and training with the troopers was like, this just feels like a section of a series of the episode that's just been cut out, whereas the other two felt like proper stories. Apparently, no, that third episode where she kind of is set after the events of Revenge of Skywalker is pretty much or Revenge of the is pretty
Yes.
is pretty much like almost identical to what happened in the Ahsoka novel.
Right. And as I was watching it, I was like, this looks very familiar. I kind of want to go back and read the Ahsoka novel again to see how it lines up. It's kind of a compressed version of events from it, but that's perfectly fine. But yeah, they don't show it in this, but it's also how she gets her 2 lightsabers that she has in Rebels. They don't show that part of the story, but
yeah.
But yeah, that was taken almost directly from Ahsoka. And then, like you said, I think the one before that, which was the training episode, really does feel like this was something that was going to be in the Clone Wars, and they just had to skip over it for time reasons, or it didn't make sense with the flow of the story. Because this is very much just right at the beginning of Anakin and Ahsoka's training together. They
then
clearly
suddenly
don't like each other yet.
And then obviously like just cutting straight to the end, to the final bit when she has her fight. So I kind of enjoyed the one when she was a baby. It kind of felt a little bit like a baby Grogu, kind of, with the saber tip. But I thought that was fun. And I think that was the thing of the Count Dooku episodes. The 2 episodes where you can kind of see him where he is a Jedi and he's questioning the way they do stuff, and you can see it like the first episode with Qui-Gon of just going, yeah, he's suspicious. He doesn't believe them. The third episode with Yaddle and all the rest of it, that was pretty brutal. That was not yeah.
Well, when they dropped the door on her, I was like, oh wow, okay, that was really, of course there was more to it than just that, but still that one scene was like, all right, that's not a good way. But I agreed. The first one, so the second episode of the series, which is the first of the Dooku ones, is my favorite of the series because they really went into the gray area on that, and in a way that made sense. That was one of the things that Star Wars has always struggled with, is the gray area. That it's either you're Jedi or you're Sith, and when you're Sith, you are just straight up evil. And this was a very good episode of showing, the Jedi Council is wrong, the Republic is wrong, and you can kind of get that, like, oh, I vaguely understand why Dooku is now on the path that he's on, and why a person would turn to the Sith for good reasons. Yeah. But there's also, of course, the undercurrent of it's not entirely good reasons. There's also a lot of ego involved here as well.
I thought it was good. It's very much in that fan territory where you've got to be a serious hardcore fan to enjoy this. But more of this, please. I definitely enjoyed it. It's a good way for them to carry on these stories with those characters without maybe going in on a full series. Because in some ways, it cuts out some of the filler a little bit on those episodes, doesn't it?
Right. And doing more of this, or of like Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special or Werewolf by Night, I really want to see them doing more of this, because not everything needs to be a 12-episode series. You don't need a 20-episode miniseries explaining how Ahsoka was found as a baby and picked up by Plo Koon and all that. You don't need it. This is all we needed, was that one little story and the village finding out she's a Jedi and their reaction. That's it.
That's what we didn't even need to know it, but it was fun. I thought it was a good one. We also got on the Mysterious Benedict Society. Did you happen to watch this one?
I watched the first episode. I was a bit pressed because I was picking up last week's shows last week or this week as well. So I only got to see the first one, but I really enjoyed the first episode. It felt like we were jumping right back into it. The characters were familiar, even though it's been a year since we've seen them again. The only problem that I had with it, and this may be resolved in episode 2, I'm not sure, was the 2 boys, and he's hinting around the fact, oh, did you get my letters? I'm just like, just ask him, did you get my letters, and why didn't you respond if you did? And that was the only thing, because it's just like, just ask him. You don't stop beating around the bush. That was my only complaint. Otherwise, I
think it's just that kind of thing of them being awkward.
Right.
And actually, because I got an interview with Sticky to Go Up, and one of the things he said was actually that was quite difficult, was trying to be like awkward when they were being, they were like being friends, and suddenly then having to be awkward. So that's kind of but no, it's good. The only thing I did want to bring up before is, if you are in Canada, it doesn't look like you've been able to watch the new episodes, because the show actually has ended up debuting on the Disney Channel first, and the day before. It's almost like doing next day episodes on Disney Plus the opposite way around. We'll put them on Disney Channel but I don't know if it's because it's gone on the Disney Channel due to like cable rights. They can't go on then onto the Disney Plus because it's not on the November schedule either. I have reached out for clarification, but if you are in Canada, this looks to be an odd little freaky little weird thing about it, because I'll be honest, I didn't pick up on it when I when I went back and looked at the October list. Oh, it's not there. I didn't even, that kind of thing. I just completely just overlooked it and just made a complete assumption and didn't even like it. Didn't why wouldn't it? And then you go back through the social media, going, oh, they've never actually it was one of those weird ones of like.
As far as I know, Canada doesn't have any rules about a show having to wait a certain amount of time after airing on television, kind of like France has their
yeah, it depends on what
their
the
movie
deal
theater
might.
one. Yeah,
It depends what the deal might be with the cable company, because also FX shows tend to do that a bit. Like for example, Welcome to Wrexham, they had to wait till the whole series aired on FX because they get the American channels, but with different ads or something. So there might be something going on with that one, but. Yeah, so this is a weird show because obviously now being on the Disney Channel as well, to kind of reach a bigger audience and stuff. It's just it's a bit of a strange one. It's kind of weird. I'm hoping a lot more people watch it. I'm hoping maybe the move to Disney Channel might boost it a little bit, because it didn't feel like there was a lot of buzz this week over it.
And if I remember correctly, there was not a lot of buzz over season 1 when that was coming out. I think there are very few people championing the series, so I'm happy to continue to champion it as long as the quality stays up, which so far it has. I'm looking forward to watching episode 2 and 3 this coming week. It's a solid show. It's not going to be for everyone, but I will continue to be like, no, this is one to check out.
It's certainly, and I watched another episode of the Mighty Ducks this week, and it's like, Mysterious Benedict Society is so much better, so much more interesting.
Both the Mysterious Benedict Society and Big Shot, which I still haven't finished, but even the gap between Big Shot and Mighty Ducks it's very obvious.
I watched an episode because I was like, I think it was episode 3 or 4, and I'm just like, oh, this is so bland. It's like it's hard to kind of. Obviously, they ate a load of candy.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, so that shows. It's hard to be. It's just like that one is like, cancel that one. Don't cancel Big Shot. Yeah.
But this is also a very good example of why we keep rebooting franchises. That's the common complaint that everyone is leveling over the years. Like, why you keep rebooting franchise? Do something new. Mighty Ducks continues to exist because it's name recognition. A lot of us grew up with it. I know you didn't, but a lot of people watching it grew up with the Mighty Ducks. So they are watching season 1 and season 2 of Mighty Ducks, and I'll include myself in that. Though honestly, if I wasn't watching it for this, I probably would have dropped it like halfway through season 1. But it's doing well. And meanwhile, Big Shot and Mysterious Benedict Society, which I would argue are both significantly better shows, are struggling to find viewership because they don't have that name recognition that Mighty Ducks has.
Catch-22, isn't it? Because it's the same thing with the movies. Like they keep doing movie of like. Well, the simple thing is they put out something like Pinocchio, and it pulls in a massive. I mean, Hocus Pocus 2 apparently pulled in like the biggest number for a film of all time on the Nielsen streaming chart. I mean, and it's like it wasn't an amazing movie. It was good, but that nostalgia and just name recognition just pulled people in. I mean, it was a massive success for Disney.
And again, you mentioned Pinocchio, the live action remakes. If you go online, you will see nothing but complaints about them. Lion King, Aladdin, all of them. But they pull in $1 billion at the box office, and at the end of the day, the money is going to be the one that talks. I mean,
well, Scrooge over there, that's why he's there.
Yeah. Say what you want about Disney. At the end of the day, every decision they make depends on whether or not they will make money from the decision. And if people are going to pay $1 billion to see The Lion King, then you better believe that they are going to be making other live action remakes for the theater.
Yeah, I mean, some of these it's because it's kind of weird now. Because so many you get people go, what? No one Disney are just doing all that. It's like, no, Disney are actually now, when you take all the Disney Plus and the National Geographic and the Hulu original ones and all the Searchlight stuff, like, they're putting out some solid films. Some really good stuff, but unfortunately, it just does not get the same. And they go, "Oh, they don't advertise it enough." Well, you can't spend 150 million like they do on Black Panther on a $5 million movie. It just doesn't. It just isn't. People don't go to see those movies.
Also, there is a thing in advertising that money goes farther for things that people are already interested in. I don't know the exact math behind it. I don't know the theory behind it, but it has been proven time and time again. If you have two projects, you've got the Mighty Ducks and you've got Big Shot. If you send $1 million in advertising to the Mighty Ducks and $1 million in advertising to the Big Shot, Mighty Ducks will do better. You will get more bang for your buck from the advertising dollars on the Mighty Ducks because people already know it. I wish that wasn't true. I would love to get some of these other shows, much more amplified, and that it was an even million gets you the same amount for both. But sales numbers have shown this for hundreds of years, and that's not changing anytime soon.
No, because it's also interesting. I feel like especially in September and October, we've had the whole thing like with Lord of the Rings and House of Dragon. They are all established franchises. They're all. It's like for me, I'm someone that came in on House of Dragon, having only watched one season of Game of Thrones, but the brand recognition of going, well, it can't, and then it just becoming a bit, and then it almost a kind of a self prophecy thing of, it was a bit like with Squid Game and like with Stranger Things, where like this is good, and you keep hearing that to the point where you're going, I'll give it a go because everyone seems to really be and I think also like in some ways like with House of Dragon, it was a good jumping on point because it didn't matter if you'd seen the original, so you could jump in and sort of do it. And I bring this back to because Andor is this weird one where it kind of got lost in the shuffle. It really got. I'm hoping that like the numbers and stuff start pulling it in, but also with it not having, it was a Star Wars brand, but it didn't have the same recognition as didn't have the lightsabers. And it's funny because there's a lot of people like us that are saying how good Andor is. And then you get a load of people, it's boring, it's slow, it's not. And it's like, it's because it's an entirely different pace than what we saw with like Mandalorian. And I'm going to be honest, and in this latest episode 8, now we've gone into like Star Wars Prison Break. We've just completely flipped from the heist now. And I love this week's episode. And this is good.
Well, might as well switch over to Andor then. I will mention to that first point, though, I've talked to a number of people. So again, this is small sample sizes, strictly within my sphere. But a number of people have been like, oh, yeah, I tried episode 1 and it was just really boring, so I didn't bother. And like, so there does seem like a thing where episode 1 did not have the hook that people needed. And then I'll keep going, no. Keep watching. Try episode 2. Try episode 3. At least watch the full arc and see that story. And some have and some haven't. And they're like, oh yeah, it gets so much better after the first episode. So I didn't feel that way about the first episode. I was engaged right from the beginning, but it does seem like a lot of people like, the first episode, I'll pass on this. And then another friend who's also just like, I just don't like Andor, the character. Yeah. And like, I can understand that because he's not Luke Skywalker. He's not even Han Solo, really. So if you don't like your characters being in the morally gray area, you're not going to like Andor.
See, I think for me, it's actually the exact opposite, because it's like, I love the fact that he's not a goody two shoes. There's that he is surviving. He is doing what he needs to survive, and he will do anything. He doesn't like the Empire, but there is no rebellion. There is nothing. He's just scrapping away. And this whole episode, with this, I thought it was so well done, with the idea of him being broken down as being an inmate, and him looking for ways to, you can see the clogs ticking of like, how do I get out of this? But yeah, it was, and the idea of setting all the like crews against each other. Again, it was just fascinating. It's such a really enjoyable. It's like, again, it does not feel like Star Wars in the same way, because it's so much more grounded.
That and between this and the previous episode where he gets picked up for completely unrelated things. They don't even know he's involved with the huge heist that everyone's worried about. Really felt like, no, this is how the Empire maintains. Like he literally did nothing, and the shore trooper is arresting him just because he looks suspicious on the beach. You're sweating a little. Yeah. It's a beach, and that's all it is.
It's so funny because that's only I think it's about 100 miles away from, because I live on a coastal town, and it was like Star Wars went to the beach because it's like they're walking along the seafront and you can see where the CG, and it was like the sea defenses and the barrier, and it was just like that. Literally, that could be like a mile down the road for me. That kind of just like it felt so much like, oh, that was kind of quite nice for them to kind of have a tourist place where and they expand the universe out a little bit. Not everyone has to be on Tatooine or Coruscant.
Right. Yeah. No, I appreciated that. I also appreciated they reused the shore troopers. Because it is the Star Wars thing to always introduce a new stormtrooper type, because toys, obviously, and then go, no, it's a beach area, so we're using shore troopers. Makes sense. I also appreciated that, at least for the flashback scene, they had the Republic troopers as well. I think that might be the first time we've seen actual humans in the Republic armor, because they're all CGI in the movies, and we haven't seen them in other shows up to this point.
Yeah. It's just, again, I feel like it is that kind of feeling of like, it is an adult show. I think if you are younger, you might feel like the pace of this one is not for you, but it's kind of so weird to go, this is such a better Star Wars show, but it's not getting the same impact because it doesn't have all the Easter eggs and the cameos and the the silliness that like we saw with the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. Because who's the big cameo of the week? I mean, we had like Saw Gerrera, and that's a pretty big one, but I think everyone knew he was coming, so it's a bit different. But it's like, no, this actually is, I think adult fans are enjoying it, but it's just not gaining that same attraction. I mean, is that thing like, if you want an Andor action figure, it's not really, it's like you're not going to put this in front of a kid to watch.
Yeah, going back to Saw there, I appreciated how they did that. It wasn't a big build-up. It wasn't like him walking out of the shadows and then, oh, yeah, it's Saw. No, it was just literally the one character sits down and starts talking to Saw, and that was it. And it's like, yeah, you recognize the character, but they're not making a huge deal out of the fact that it's the same character from Rogue One or from Clone Wars.
Well, that would definitely, because that seemed to be the idea that they wanted to do. They did not want to turn it into, I mean, there's little Easter eggs and stuff, but they don't want you getting distracted by that. And it's very noticeable. If they could take some of the stuff that they're doing here and slide it over to Mandalorian, that would be nice to kind of make that a little bit more serious. That would be nice, but
I don't think they're going to. They've established the tone of Mandalorian at this point. It's going to keep going with that. As long as they stick with the Mandalorian and not with the style they used for Boba Fett, I'm fine with it. It's perfectly good for them to have different styles. But I do agree. Overall, I am so far preferring this to the Mandalorian style, and that is a big deal. Both seasons of the Mandalorian have been fantastic, and even season 2.5, stuck in the middle of Boba Fett, was solid. But yeah, there's room for both. I really hope that they do not look at the numbers for this and go, oh, no one wants this more serious story, because please, I do. There's room for both.
I mean, at least we know. I mean, filming on the second season is starting up pretty much like any week now. We know, and there is only going to be another 12 episodes after this one. So probably, I'm guessing 2024, this time in 2024, because I mean, they don't finish filming, I think, until like the middle of the summer next year, because they're going to be filming it. Because Andor took a long time to film because it's 12 episodes, and it's a much bigger season.
Yeah, the tail end of 2024 would be my most optimistic guess. I would not be surprised if this didn't even go into 2025. In fact, I think I saw an article recently where it's like, did you like House of the Dragon? Did you like Lord of the Rings? Did you like Andor? Well, guess what? You are waiting a long time for the next season of each of those. And that's probably pretty accurate, honestly.
Yeah, it is pretty strange. It's kind of funny as well, like with House of Dragon, because some of the beach scenes there were filmed near me. But it's so dark you can't see it. It was a bit like 1 week ago, like between Andor and House of Dragon, that I was watching, going, oh, they're really making the most of my area. And then it's just like yeah, it's great to see all this stuff appearing on the screen. I'm there kind of going, oh. But no, it's pretty good. So that was all of this week's new releases. There was trying to think what else we had out. That was it.
There was also Sumo Do, Sumo Don't. I know you didn't watch that, which is fine. I watched the first episode of that. It is only available in Japanese. There's subtitles for like 30 different languages, but there is no dubbing option at all. So if you don't like if you don't like subtitles, you just skip it straight up. It's not going to be for you. It was a decent comedy. It's enjoyable. I learned about sumo. I don't know most of the sumo things, so that was actually pretty engaging. It's competently done, but it's not like super amazing. If you want some Japanese media that is not anime, or you want to try something else, this is a perfectly good one for it. I imagine that there are probably people who could point you in the direction of others, but unfortunately, unlike Korean and Chinese media, there is not a whole lot of Japanese, not just on Disney Plus, but HBO.
I think generally just like it never really kind of it's kind of weird thing of like looking at the list of what's coming out, because I'm just going to bring up an email that I wanted to have a look at because there is a lot of stuff coming in now, and it's like saying it's only not available in, I mean, in an ideal world you would have everything available in dubbed and in but on the same hand, it's like, especially like here in the UK, it's like just get it out with what you've got and then add it in later for everyone. You know, if you've only got subtitles, release it. Because like, so this is an example of like, so this is in Australia. So this is what's dropping in November. So obviously we've got so we know we got the main ones like Andor and the Mighty Ducks, etc. So we're going to be getting Bleach, Thousand Blood Year, Because We Forgot Everything. You're going to be getting things like Men on a Mission, also $1 Lawyer, Pink Lie, Revenge of Others, Shadow Detective, Summertime Rendering, Sumo Do, Sumo Don't, The Golden Spoon, and Woman of Taipei. And also I think we're going to be seeing some other ones as well dropping in. There's going to be some other shows. There's a Turkish one called Ben Gur, or Giril. And there's a couple of other ones. Limbo from Argentina, Big Bet from South Korea, Papa's de Embargo. You know, there's a lot from Mexico. There's a lot of international stuff starting to slide in now that the everything good, because ultimately if you don't want to watch it, it doesn't matter, you don't watch it,
right?
But at least make it available. So if you want to watch it, it's really noticeable now of like going, you know, we're getting about, well, I mean, there must be like a dozen international originals dropping in November alone internationally.
Yeah, and one thing that I really appreciate about it is even if you don't end up liking the series, you learn a little bit about the culture that it comes from one way or another. Like we talked about Snowdrop earlier this year. I only watched like 3 or 4 episodes of it before it got just way too melodramatic for me. But I learned stuff about South Korea that I never knew. Like I did not know about the 1980 cultural revolution that was going on that this is set against. Just talking about Sumo Do, Sumo Don't. Obviously, I know what sumo is, but I learned a lot about the sport that I did not know before. And I learned just bits and pieces like the Japanese, their school club festival or whatever, which was pretty interesting to watch. And so seeing stuff from these other countries that will be coming in as well, I will learn about those countries. Will I continue with Sumo Do? So I'm probably not going to be honest, but it was interesting to see something different. Snowdrop, same thing. And these upcoming titles, I look forward to seeing them too, even if they don't end up grabbing me after watching the first 2 episodes.
For me, the thing is like if there was a dubbed version, I would probably put it on in the background while I'm working, and that's what I do. If the subtitles, it has to be, because that means then I have to be on it, and so a show that I'm not fully into, it's going to be hard to. So I definitely feel like, you know, for me, there was kind of bleached all the 16 seasons dropped here in the UK on Disney Plus this week, and it's like because it's dubbed, I'm like, and I put on Family Guy instead because we got a new episode.
Well, I gather Bleach is also one of the major anime titles. I remember it being popular back in the early 2000s alongside Naruto and the pirate one. I can't remember the name of offhand. So the fact that there's new Bleach stuff and it's coming to Disney Plus / Hulu is a pretty big deal for anime fans.
Yeah. Also this past week we had new episodes of I watched the finale of the D'Amelio show because they're all kind of getting ready for like launching their music careers and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. New episode of the Kardashians. This one was actually this week's episode was all about the launch of the series on Hulu. So they had the big premiere, and they've never had a premiere event before, and so that was quite an interesting episode. We watched that one. Also this past week in the UK, Grey's Anatomy season 19 and Station 19 started up as brand new. Now they're exclusive to Disney Plus here in the UK, so I'm going to be watching them every week. So I've been watching Grey's Anatomy. We also watched another episode of the Old Man from FX. And I'm just trying, and I've obviously watched The Walking Dead because that's continuing to that's really good because we get new episodes of that on Mondays on Disney Plus. I'm just looking here. What else have we been watching? Like I said, it's like now you start throwing in like Station 19, Grey's Anatomy, the Kardashians. That's when me and my wife will sit down in the evening and watch TV together, and we pick, so it's nice having those shows on there. Which kind of leads back to an issue this week with Bob Chapek, because he was in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, and he basically said, what he pretty much said was, we're finding that, when the parents, been watching like animation with their kids and stuff all day, they put the kids to bed and they don't want to watch a movie like Pinocchio, Dumbo. They want to watch something for them. And then it got picked up online, and the tweets were all like, he's adults don't want to watch animation. Like, no, that's not what he said. He said, when they puts kids to bed, they're probably not, adults are probably not gonna want to watch Dumbo or Bambi or something. And it's like, you didn't say like all the adults don't watch animation. He didn't say, it's like, wow, like, and it's, we could have put it better. It's like he was having a conversation. It was a 45-minute thing. It's like, hear us now of like, you say stuff that you might not fully explain in the same way, but it doesn't mean like, and it was like, no, the tweets completely like, he hates animation, and it's like, no, he didn't say that at the slide. And I'm just like, no, because it's spot on. Your average adult, in the evening when it's like, we like me and my wife, we love, we watch Encanto, and we're gonna watch Strange World and all. But we watched like shows aimed at adults as well on Disney Plus. It's just like, it's not, and they watch. I'm just like, I'm gonna be honest. How many, like, if you go out there into your local supermarket and ask how many adults do you watch like anime or Family Guy, they might get, the younger ones, but there will be a whole. You'll get a massive amount of people that will not, that will be like, I want to watch. When I'm not with the kids, I don't watch cartoons, kind of thing. And it's just a simple thing, and it's not disparaging on the fact that these shows aren't made for, because I enjoy Family Guy, Solar Opposites. I'm quite happy watching animation, but like, I think I'm in the more minority. Maybe younger adults are more likely going to watch it because we're used to things like South Park and stuff. But when the kids have gone to bed, I imagine the majority of adults will then turn to watch their own TV shows aimed at them, rather than, you're going to have the odd person. I'm going to continue to watch Bluey after I've put my kid to bed. You're going to find the odd person, but the vast majority, it's like, he's not going to sit there in an interview and go, well, I was like, wow, no, talk about taking his words and completely like turning it into something that it wasn't. And just like, no, he didn't have a go at animation. He was literally talking about the fact that he wants to put more stuff for adults on this. It's just a shame that he started saying this back in like December last year, and we're here going into year 4 of Disney Plus, and he hasn't really delivered it in the US yet.
No, he hasn't, but part of it is his hands are tied with the Hulu deal and so forth. But this is a great lesson in the title of the article is not always the content of the article, and also selective understanding of what he said, because
it's like a 20-second clip, and it's out of a 45-minute, and it's like, he didn't say that. He was like, they were having a discussion before and after that clip, but he just
but the outrage culture, which we all can certainly become, we can all be picked apart by it, and we can also all fall victim to like, oh, such and such said this evil thing, and then you get the pitchforks out and you start tar and feathering people, and then it turns out, no, all he said it was that adults prefer to watch media made for adults. I'm like, oh, well, that's actually a perfectly reasonable thing to say. And also, it is worth remembering, again, as I was talking about with like the Lion King and the live action stuff, and what you see online and what's in reality are not always the same deal. I think you will find, especially in our age bracket and older, most people will go, "Oh, animation's for kids," and you go, "Well, The Simpsons was for adults." I'm like, yeah, I'd put my kids in front of that, or you go with like some of the anime, like Akira or Ghost in the Shells, like that's very definitively for adults, and people are like, "No, it's animation, it's for kids." I'm like,
Yeah.
I would not show that to my kids, but you do you.
Yeah, there is that thing. I think like animation has been fighting against that for decades. And I ultimately, you know, we are adults that watch, you know, we've watched anime, we watch things like Family Guy and Solar Opposites, and you know, we're quite comfortable with that. We don't automatically, because we've grown up. I think, you know, especially like me as a teenager, you know, we like South Park launched when I was a teenager, you know, and Beavis and Butthead and all that kind of, you know, there's a reason why Family Guy's been going for like 20 odd years, and American Dad, and you know, we I think we are more used to watching it. But I do feel like this was one of those things of like, yeah, the conversation that he was in was about something else, and it's just a shame that again Hulu is kind of completely got Disney's hand. I mean, whether or not we find out soon, you know, we're about 4 weeks away from this ad tier launching. You know, if they're going to do it, this is it. But if they don't, then it won't be it till they sort out Hulu. And it's that kind of thing. If it's been a constant, I mean, it has got a bit boring in some ways now. Of like, oh, they're going to have more general entertainment stuff. Yeah, well, he said that 20 times before, and nothing's actually happened yet. Just like, yeah, like, okay, so they put one show on, or they put a load of documentaries on this month. It's like, this is not what he's, you know, it's like
Right.
he's saying this stuff, but he's not delivered it. You know, we're sitting here a year on from when he said it, and in all honesty, you could put on one hat, only on two hands, how many titles you've got extra.
Right. And some of this has to go to the media as well, because the headline, Bob Chapek reconfirms that he wants more, you know, adult shows or shows for older audiences, isn't going to draw that many clicks. Whereas Bob Chapek says that animation is not for adults is going to get all the rage bait going. And unfortunately, clicks and interaction with your web page is what drives most of these, and that's why clickbait or you know, the YouTube equivalent with the shock covers of, and so yeah, that
we should just have that as every cover.
You wouldn't believe what Ahsoka did in episode 5 of Tale of the Jedi, and it's just, she gets stunned multiple times, literally stunned. I think one of the things going forward, especially for the next generation, is that we need to have literacy on how to interpret, frankly, boring news articles and stuff, and to give protections against this clickbait stuff. And I don't know what the solution is, unfortunately, but as long as everything is driven by SEO and formulas and click retentions, you're going to keep getting stuff like this.
And also as well, and I mean, it's a horrible way, really, but negativity always wins. You can put up, you can have two articles, negative headline, positive headline. The negative one will get more people interested, and unfortunately, that is just the nature of the human nature. You know, we're more drawn to negativity.
So, Roger, for this video / podcast, the title is going to be "James Hates Andor season or episode 8, and this is why." And we're going to use the big rage picture, okay? And the engagement is going to go up like 20% at least, maybe 50%.
Yes, but that's that. Ultimately, that is it, and it is always an issue. But it's just been one of those interesting things. I felt like with Disney Plus, but it is. I do find it a bit annoying. Of like, you know, he was out there talking about this stuff, and I'm like, going, yeah, but you've not done it yet. You've been talking about this for nearly a year now. Daredevil, Orville, Blackish. What else have you done?
Yeah,
it's like you're getting to that point. You're going, yeah, I know you keep saying it, and obviously we know the Hulu issue is there, but it's kind of less. It's like now we're going, well, you kind of, until we see it, there's not much more we can do, really.
Yeah, and it is very obvious too, because you have the Star integration worldwide. It'd be one thing if you all didn't have it as well, and everyone's sitting there going, okay, you gave us the Orville, now give us The Walking Dead or American Horror Story or something like that. But no, it's literally just go, in America, that's on Hulu. In the UK,
Everywhere,
it's on Disney Plus, and we're just kind of sitting over here going, well, why can't we have it?
You still see it on like there's like a post the other day on the UK, like with the Kardashians, and people go, why is this on? It's like, it's been on there for a year.
Yeah.
And this isn't Disney. It's like it is, but it's this constant like tread of trying to get people over. It's always that kind of weird thing. Is like, if I go back to like, you know, we're coming up now on year 4 of the podcast. Or was it year 4 or year 5?
Because we predated Disney Plus by a little bit, because
so
we did it right after
we did it. We started in 2018, so we're going into year 5 of the podcast in a week's time. And you know, when we were talking about the idea of them putting on General in like, when nobody had it, it was like, well, yeah, it's a bit of a pipe dream. I don't know. Of course, now we're going into like, we've nearly had it 2 years now. It's like, so, and like, you know, they're launching in the Philippines in a couple of weeks, and it's all got all the star stuff. You're like there's Disney Plus is in 101 countries. 90 of them have got star, and it's only like Latin America and America don't. And you're like, well, it's kind of flipped. But again, until Hulu's sorted, nothing is going to change.
No, that's absolutely. We might have a couple trickle titles pop in, some things that they can put some hype behind. Hopefully there will be a couple for when the price hike happens. And of course, when all the 3-year subscribers have to pay up again, which was, I got my email recently.
I do think that might be why November's quite stacked, because November's there's quite a lot of stuff dropping in.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, and each and every week there were things like, I want to watch that, I want to watch that, I want to watch that.
Because you didn't get, because was there a special offer, or was it literally like you're going on to the annual plan?
No, it was literally just your plan is coming to an end. You will be billed on this day, and this is the new amount. That was the email. There was no like, oh, thank you for being a subscriber for 3 years. Here is your $1 off per month.
As I look at it, they're going, you've had it that cheap for that long. That was your deal.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of the implication of like, look, you got a bargain for 3 years. Just deal with it. And yeah, it tastes about the same as Netflix going, we're getting rid of sharing. You need your own account, you lazy bum. But I get it. I'm not happy with it, but I get it. So
yeah. Right. On that note, guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back next week with another episode. Obviously, check out the Disney Plus news episodes going up throughout the week. We'll have a live Q&A here live on Sunday night. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Later. Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.